Hello everybody, welcome to the webinar, the one-on-one of visual production scheduling. This is an introductory webinar on the visual production scheduler extension for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Center, which we also have as an add-in for Dynamics NAV. My name is Martin Karlovic. I'm the CEO and one of the owners of NETRONIC Software. And again, welcome to everybody who is on the call. Good afternoon to people in Europe, maybe good night to people in Asia, and good morning to people in the United States and in other parts of North or Southern America. So just for some kind of housekeeping and organizational stuff, as this is a webinar, you guys are all on mute, but of course you have the capability to post questions through the GoToWebinar chat pane, which I will answer as soon as I get hold of them. So typically when I'm doing the PowerPoint slides, I see them immediately and answer them immediately. And when I'm doing the demo, it might happen that I recognize only afterwards that you had questions. So then be a bit patient. I will definitively review them and definitively answer all questions that I can answer in this call. And if not, then I will let you know that I'm unable to answer it for whatever reason. And I will afterwards reach out to you via email. And so with this, let's jump into what I prepared for today. And this is pretty packed agenda. So I will do some further housekeeping actually as part of the agenda. And this has nothing to do with the GoToWebinar software, but with our own website, which we streamlined it. And we will do more webinars going forward because we get really good traction and good feedback on those. So we want to excel on this, and I will show you what we changed on the website and also with respect to the webinar frequency. Then I will do a recap on our visual scheduling extensions, and after that we come to the demo part of this webinar, which will be the big part of the webinar, and I will go into three tips in order to kind of make you familiar with visual production scheduling and some of the visual production scheduling basics. And I said this is really an introductory level webinar. So for those you are either new to the visual production scheduler and visual production scheduling for Business Center, or to those who looked at our product maybe 2 or 3 years ago and really need to have a refresher. So the first tip is really about how we visualize a production schedule. And visualizing a production schedule has always two angles, and we will come to this in the demo. There is the timeline of the production schedule, and there is the resource schedule of your production schedule, and we will look at both. Then the second tip is actually something that we spend a lot of thinking on when we build the product new for Business Center, and this is at some point of time scheduling, which is looking ahead, and execution kind of cross their path, because you have a schedule and then you start working on it, and then you have progress information in your schedule, and then the question is how to bring these things together, and actually also how to kind of get the visual information on which operation is where in terms of the execution phase. And I will also talk about this today only from the point of view of the visualization. So how kind of do we support the fact that visually that execution and scheduling come together? So I will not do some scheduling tasks there, but just look at the visualization part. And then the last thing is, because we get really asked about this a lot of time, and actually the way of how we work with filters and enable you and your customers to work with filters sometimes create questions, and also quite frequently actually create support cases that you reach out and say, hey, look, your filters behave strange, or your filters behave wrong. And then we actually can explain that what you feel is wrong is in this case really a bug, not a bug, but a feature. And I want to use this webcast to give you a refresher on our filter concepts and why sometimes what feels like a bug actually is a useful feature. and filter. And so with this, let's do a little bit more housekeeping and look at what we actually did to keep our house tidy. So to say, we streamlined our website. So let me quickly go there. If you go to netronic.com, we now have just two major menus, because actually we as Netronic have three product lines. We have a product line that is for business central customers and partners, and then we have completely different product that goes and addresses software developers, and then we have a third product that is for small make it to order machine shops that are too small to run a system like business central. And so the whole purpose of our website now is to kind of quickly guide every visitor to where they are find all the information that are relevant. So for Just Planet, just to know that this brings you to a different website. So if I click here, then sometimes hopefully a new website opens up. So this brings you to a completely different place. And sorry for that. If you're a developer, you can go here, but most likely you won't do this. But typically you are looking for information about business centered, so you can quickly access all our products, the VAPS, the VPS, the VJS, the VSS, the VRV from here. You can also get some information of how you can actually develop your own visual scheduler, and you get to upcoming webinars from here, or you can just enter the business central area from here, or from here. So if I do this, then you get an overview, and you see it turns the bar here turns blue. So whenever you are in the blue area, you know that you're in the business central nav area. We have then the list of our extensions, the VAPS, the VPS, the VJS, and the VRV. We have the extensions or the apps, the add-ins for NAV, but you get support information like how to contact us, you get information about the knowledge base, you get access to manuals, to release notes, and all what you do here, it remains you, or it keeps you in the business central / nav world, so you won't get disturbed about any of the other products that we have, because actually you are interested in what we do for business central. So you can go to the VPS release notes, for example, and see that we just released a new version in February, and what we did in enhancements and did of bug fixes. So you stay in this world, you see which partners we have, what the partner program is. So this is the business central world, and you come to there from the home page by clicking any of these blue buttons, and this brings you in this blue business central world. And what is also new is we have, so what's always has been the case, we have the recorded webinars, which are completely free to access, and we structured them by the most recently recorded one. You see that actually I did two already this year. This was the launch event for the VAPS, and there was one last week on the VJS. And then you see also we have the webinars now sorted by product, so what is general, and then for the VAPS, for the VPS, for the VJS, and for the VRV. And of course, so if you're interested in this October 29 webinar on VPS and VJS, you can click here, and then you can just click here and watch it. And then we actually decided to excel on the webinars, because we get really good feedback on the webinars, and thank you for participating, but also thank you for providing feedback. So now we actually have a calendar here with upcoming webinars. You'll see for February, the month is always done. We did one last week, we do this one now. So if you go actually to a past one, it brings you to recording. But if you look forward, you see there are actually two scheduled for April, for March, and then another two for April. So you see there is a visual scheduling essentials webinar where we drill down more into the filtering, both for VJS and VPS. We will then look at how to work with sub-assemblies in VPS and VAPS. There will be one on visual scheduling essentials, and I will talk a lot about finite capacity scheduling. And if you click the red button, you see it turns in black, and then you can sign up for the webinar now, and you get some more information about who will be doing this, and you see my ugly face, and you get some content about what the webinar is. So And you see, if you can go to kind of March, there's the calendar, you go to April, and we kind of want to have at least 2 webinars per month. And so this calendar will build up over the time. So I really recommend that you bookmark this and check in. And we will also do some mailings where we make you aware of the webinars, but we will decrease the frequency there. So we got the feedback that got too many. So maybe we will send you monthly update about what is new at NETRONIC, and then we will point to these webinars. But just look at the calendar. There will be always kind of for the next 2 months, always two kind of webinars per month lined up, and potentially there will be more going forward. Okay, so with this was a housekeeping. So I think it's important that you know that all Business Central related information is now in one place, structured by Business Central, by NAV, and then by general information about webinars that are coming. You can also access our Business Central and NAV specific blog posts from here. There's a lot of support information about the product, and there's also some information about the partner program. And with this, let's look at the product. And this is something I did last week in the VJS webinar, but I noticed that we only have a very small percentage of overlap between people who attended the VJS webinar last week and this VPS webinar. So I thought I'd do it again, because I also, whenever I do this slide, I get good feedback. And I think it starts to help people understand what we are providing for Business Central, because we now have a family of extensions, of visual scheduling extensions for Dynamics 365 Business Central. So we are no longer just a provider of add-ins for Dynamics NAV, but we started to early on bring our IP from NAV to Business Central. And now we have actually 4 products that we actively develop. This is the Visual Production Scheduler, VPS, and we will talk more about the VPS in this webinar. The VPS is a product that is available both for Business Central and NAV, and it is available in AppSource. It integrates with the manufacturing module, and the purpose is to provide your customers with a visual drag and drop front end to standard Business Central manufacturing. So with the VPS, you can do what you can do with the Business Central manufacturing module, not more, but also not less, but you can do it in a much more efficient way because it's graphical and you see all the relevant information in one screen, in one display, and you see the dependencies, you see the impacts of changing the schedule. So it makes the information that you have anyway much more meaningful and much easier to understand. So the typical customers for the VPS are small manufacturers, are manufacturers who really get good value of using the Business Central manufacturing module. It is most likely new Business Central clients who in the past did their scheduling on a whiteboard or with Excel, so for whom the kind of the implementation of Business Central is kind of a milestone in their digitization journey. And then when they make their processes digital with kind of introducing a system like Business Central, then typically they also want to make their scheduling processes more digital and bring whatever they had in their manual system also in their new core business management software. And there the VPS provides really a big value because it makes the rather complex Business Central manufacturing module way more accessible, way more transparent, way more easy to understand, and users can quickly embrace what they have in this module. And then we started last year actually to build the bigger brother to the VPS, and this is the VAPS, which we launched this year in January. The VAPS is just available for Business Central, and there is no plan to make it available for NAV. It is actually optimized for the web client. It is not yet an AppSource. This is something we are still working on, and we have the plan to have this an AppSource in this calendar quarter. It integrates with the manufacturing module also, but other than the VPS, it really enhances the Business Central manufacturing module. So we bring a lot of new functions to Business Central manufacturing as such, and then we make these new functions that we bring to Business Central manufacturing also available in the graphical planning board. So we bring proper finite capacity scheduling to Business Central. We bring the capability to Business Central to work with alternative work centers and machine centers. We bring material available information into a production schedule. We give users the capability to pin production orders and to do all of this, which you basically cannot do with Business Central standard manufacturing. And so the typical customers are larger manufacturing companies with a higher number of jobs or with a higher volatility of their processes, with much more flexibility in their routings. It might be that you have Planner One customers that when you want to update from NAV to Business Central, and Planner One is no longer existent for Business Central, so the VAPS could be an alternative for them. Or is if you win customers from SysPro or from ShopTech or from any other system where they used to work with some scheduling software before, then they typically will require for more capabilities than you have in standard Business Central, and then the VAPS is the right product for them. Then looking on the resource side of things, we have the Visual Job Scheduler, which is also available from Business Central and NAV. It's an app source, and it's the kind of the pendant to the Visual Production Scheduler, but for the jobs and the resource planning module. So it provides drag and drop to standard Business Central jobs and resource planning. It's a good product for engineering to other companies or for project service companies who need agile project planning. And again, I did a webinar on this last week, so I highly encourage you to look at the recording and see if this could be a fit for your clients. And then last but not least, we have the VRV, the Visual Resource Viewer, which was kind of our starting point for bringing our IP to Dynamics 365 Business Central. So this was really the guinea pig product where we said, okay, we don't do any drag and drop capabilities, but we just want to visualize resource allocations from service orders, from jobs, from assembly orders, and from resource absences. So it gives a comprehensive view of the resource allocation. It can be used complementary to the VJS, or it can be used for companies who really use resource planning and a lot of the other modules to kind of keep their resources busy. It is just available for Business Central, no plan to have it for NAV. And it's already in app source, so the only product that we need to bring to app source from this slide is the VAPS. Then in terms of releasing the product, both the VPS that I will talk about today and the VJS are products that kind of get updated every 4 to 6 weeks, which you might have noticed from the release notes. And let's go back there. Let's go back, like support, release notes, VPS, and then you see, okay, there was a product version beginning of February, end of November, so this is deduct Christmas 6 weeks. Then we had beginning of October 6 weeks, then it was end of August 5 weeks, end of July 5 weeks, end of June 4 weeks. So this was kind of the initial version. So we have kind of a rhythm to come up with a new version of the product every 4 to 6 weeks. And when you look at the release notes, you will always see a list of enhancement and list of fake bugs. So actually, when we do these, what we call a sprint every 4 to 6 weeks, so we finish a sprint every 4 to 6 weeks, we always include new functionality in a new version. We fix bugs that you report, or that we find, or that customers report. And what we also do, and this is important to know, we also do always a little bit of code refactoring. So we always also do some hidden stuff to make the code perform better, to increase performance, to make the user experience more seamless. So a lot of the subtle stuff that make a software work well. And what is also important to know, we are a company that is super committed to app source. So whenever we have a version ready, we go to Microsoft again and say, hey, here's a new version, please recertify this for app source. So whenever we put out a new version here, you can be sure that this is either approved by Microsoft and compliant with app source, or it will be compliant with app source soon. So this version that we did beginning of this month was, I think it was app source approved a week later. So we always try to kind of meet Microsoft's highest demand in terms of quality, and this is currently this is the app source certification. With these products, with the VPS and the VJS, we don't publish a roadmap because we want to keep a high level of agility, and we want to have the right to kind of change things quickly. We want to react to your ideas particularly quite quickly. So if you have an idea on the VPS and the VJS, let me know. I will bring this to the development, and if this fits in what we're doing anyway, then we can really have short turnaround times. With the VAPS, we are a little bit different because this is not a product that we develop on our own, but we teamed up with Techman from the UK, with whom we have a joint venture on the development side. So it's a NETRONIC branded product, a NETRONIC sold product, and a NETRONIC distributed product, but Techman helps on the development side of things. And so as this is a collaborative development, we didn't want to go for that short cycles, but we say, okay, we come up with a new product version once a quarter. And again, the rest is same principle. So every quarter, new features, fix bugs, a little bit code cleanup, and which each version that we do, we go to Microsoft for app source, and we need to do it with the first version, which happens in this calendar quarter. Here we also can share a little bit of ideas about things that comes next. So we have kind of the visibility a quarter out, and maybe also of what happened after that quarter, because we want to give some transparency for customers and partners that come from the Planner One world, so that they see which of the gaps that exist between the VAPS and P1 are we closing and when. So if you need information there, please let me know. And then we have the VRV, where we do no function enhancements. The product is as it is, but we keep it compatible with Business Central. So if Microsoft makes breaking changes to it, then we will fix it. And Microsoft has the right to do so, and they from time to time execute the right. So we actually had with the VRV already breaking changes. So we then took the product again, fixed everything that Microsoft broke, and we sent it back for the app source requalification and recertification. And so this describes the product portfolio that we have right now for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. All of this is optimized for the web client, because the web client is the future of this product. And now we are going to focus on the VPS, and we really look at 3 production scheduling tips. And the tips is like first, and this is really back to the basics, is how the hell do we visualize a production schedule? So which information from the manufacturing module do we take? How we visualize them? How do we visualize the timeline of a production order? How do we visualize the timeline of a production order that is linked to another production order? And also how do we visualize the resource utilization? Then once we clarified this, we actually look at some more detailed layer of information, and this is the information of how kind of the schedule, so the things that look ahead and the things that are currently happen on the shop floor, how they come together, and what you can actually read from the visual schedule. And then we drill down another level and look at how you can use filters to make scheduling more targets, what are the benefits of features, but also what kind of are the implications of our filtering concept that you need to be aware of. And with this, let's stop PowerPoint and let's switch to Business Central. And of course, so I'm on Business Central 14, which means I need to refresh if I talk too long. Eventually I need to upgrade my environment, but kind of just trust me that our products work both for Business Central version 14 and version 15, and we make sure that when the next version comes out soon, so the spring release this year, that we kind of very shortly after it's out we will comply with it again. So let's start with tip 1, how the production schedule is visualized, and maybe we start actually from a production order. So maybe I just go to my list of planned production orders, and you see I have a couple of planned production orders, and maybe we take this one. We take the second one, the 10, 10, 12, which is for a frame. I need 70. I need them on the 12th of February. This is the due date. Forget about the required due date. This is information from the VPS. So in the standard Business Central system, this does not exist. And then this is pretty easy one. I have just one production order line. So from the production order header, I know what this is, how many I need, when this is due, and also I know information that this starts on the 3rd of February and it finishes on the 11th of February. And then from the routing line, so if I drill one line down, or actually 2 lines down, I have the production order, then I can drill down in the production order line or lines if they are, and from the production order line I can drill down in the routing, and then here I actually see my operations. I see which machine, or if there's a work center, which work center is responsible for doing that. And then I see exactly when this is going to happen. And I also see if there is setup time or not. And so now let's look just on this production order, how this production order is visualized in the visual production schedule. So let's open the visual production schedule. With the visual production schedule, we are reading exactly this information that you just saw. Just ignore this dialog. This is about filtering. We come to this later. With the visual production schedule, we visualize the information we just saw and a little bit more. So now, first thing is, the visual production schedule opens in what is called the production order view, where we look at the production orders sorted or grouped by a status. So we see planned production orders, firm planned production orders, and released production orders. And actually the production order that I looked at was a planned production order, and it was for a frame. And so we see actually this is here somewhere in February. So what I can do is actually with the mouse wheel here, I can position the mouse wheel on this time scale, or the mouse cursor on the time scale, and then with the mouse wheel I can zoom in, and I can zoom in kind of into minute. This is 5 minutes interval. Now it changes to a minutes interval, and I can go down into seconds. And this is all seamless. So now let me zoom out, because I have longer operations, but if your customers with short operations, you can just change the resolution from this seamlessly with the mouse wheel. And then let's look at the information we have. We have the information from the production order header. This is here. This is the production order number and the description. So we know this is production order 10, 10, 12. It is a frame. And you also see in this info window that pops up, you see the starting date, the 3rd of February, and the ending date, the 12th of February, and the due date, the 11th of February, the end date, and the due date, the 12th of February. And this is actually information that is shown here visually. So we start on the 3rd of February, we finish on the 11th of February, and the due date is the 12th of February. So this is all information, let's say, from the production order header. And then we said we can drill down. We drill down first in the production order lines, and let's go back, just again, a double click on, for example, here the production order number opens the production order card again, and then you see there is just one production order line. And so now here this looks a little bit like redundant information, but is actually not, because, and I will come to this later, we can also have a production order with multiple lines like here. And then you see, okay, this production has multiple lines, and then these lines are shown here. So now I drilled from the production order into the production order line, and then from the production order line, I can drill down into the routing lines. Okay, so now I see the production order routing lines, and I see, and now let's go back to the production order routing lines. I see that I have 5 production order routing lines, and this is here a sequential routing, so one follows after the other. I see I need to cut it, drill it, mill it, and then assemble and inspect. And I also saw when this starts and when this finishes, and this is exactly the information here: cut, drill, mill, assemble, inspect. When do I start this? When do I finish it? And I see also that this is a sequential routing. So when operation 10 is finished, I start with 20, and so on and so forth. So what I also see, and this is some information I actually didn't see, the information that I didn't see here. Let's go back to the production order. From here, I actually didn't see information about the general availability of my machine center 110 cutting or of my machine center 520 inspection table. This is information that you have to look for in Business Central by just opening the machine center and then looking at the machine center calendar and stuff like this. In the VPS, you see this information on one glance because in the background you see these gray and white stripes. So we see that this production order or this operation 10, it starts here on the 3rd of February, it finishes on the 4th of February, and in between there is this gray area here, and this also is shown in some of the other work centers, and this gray area is the non-work time. So the net work time on this first operation is only what is shown here in this saturated blue, where this blue and this gray overlaps. This is actually non-work time, and you see here is long non-work time. So here's the weekend. So if I move this not to start on a Wednesday, but if I move this to start on a Friday, and you see we would take this into account, and the total length of this operation would get extended. So now it takes from Friday to Monday because it will not be worked upon during Saturday and Sunday. So you see the general availability of this, of the underlying work or machine centers. So this is the one thing that you actually see in addition to this. But however, you can say, hey, actually, when I look at the routing, some information is missing, and some information that might be important to your customers is missing, and this information about the setup time. So how long does it take to set up the machine? So here in cutting there is no setup time, but we see actually for the second operation, for the drilling, it takes 3 hours to set it up, and actually here it takes 6 hours to set it up, which is quite long. So I better want to know this, and so this information currently is missing because in the bar for this operation we only have the time when it starts and we have the time when it's finished. But I can say on a right mouse click, now I can say somewhere, let me see, I can say actions, and we keep on changing this. It's not here, sorry for this. I'm getting lost. So first, we now see the flow of this one production order here on its operations. We see when there is the general availability of these work and machine centers, but what we do not see is when these work and machine centers, if they are busy with other operations. So actually from here, I can say show operation in capacity view. Then I can jump to another view where I see the same information. The one operation from where I triggered the switch is highlighted. It's blinking here in red. So now I can click on it and select it, and I see, okay, I have to go to cutting, to drilling, milling, and then assemble and inspect. I can also from the work center level drill down into the machine centers. And now here I actually can say on a right mouse click, okay, show setup times. And then let's remember for this production order, there was no setup time for the first operation, but there was this 3-hour setup time for the second operation. So this is this gray area here. This is the setup time. And then we see for the third operation, really this long setup time. So we can show here in the capacity view where we look at the machines, we can actually look when they are busy with setting up a production order and when they are working on the production order. So this is some of the very general information how we visualize data. So we see an operation, the bar from the start to the end of the operation in this view. In the other view, show in production order view, we also see the high level information from the production order card, like when it starts, when it finishes, and what the due date is. So as we are here in the capacity view, we don't have one line per production order, so we only can show the due date for the selected production order. So now that I clicked on this, you see we see this due date line. You see this due date line over here. We see these links to determine the dependency between the operations, and this is information coming from the routing. This is sequential, but if you have parallel routings, it would work the same. You see in the background the shift calendar of your work centers that then get inherited to the machine center. So here in cutting, we see gray area non-work time, white area work time. So we start here in the morning at 8 and we finish at 11 p.m. Whereas further down here in the work centers, where is more manual work, we start at 8 and we finish at 4. And this is then reflected on the bar. Whenever the bar is during the weekend or during the non-work time, it is white, and the network time is what is colored. And we see the setup time if we want to see this, and I can hide it again, but if we want to see the setup time, we see it here in gray at the beginning of the bar, or I hide this and then this will turn blue again. So let me show the setup time again so you see how this works. Another important element of visualization you see now here, we have these straight links between operations. These are links that come from a routing. However, and this will be part of one of the next webinars where I talk about sub-assemblies, you actually can make links either between production orders through reservations, and this is they need to be firm planned, but you can also have cases like this where you have within one production order multiple production order lines. Like you see, I have 3 production order lines here, and they all have their own independent routing, and they are dependent from each other. So I have to do the back wheel and the front wheel first before I do the touring bicycle. So 3 production order lines, all with their own routings within one production order, and there is a dependency between these production order lines. So if we look at this, I can drill down now from production order into production order lines, and then from the production order lines into the respective production order routing line. So this is the back wheel, this is the front wheel, and this is the bicycle. And if I select this now, you see on the one hand these straight links, which are the links between the operations with coming from the routing of one production order line. And then you see these dotted links, and this is where production order lines are linked with each other via reservations. And this can be, like I showed this in this example, this could be via reservations within one production order, making use of the make to order function, or this could be via links between production orders that you can make through reservations. And then you see these dotted lines so that you know, okay, I need to make this thing first before I can make that thing. And this will be part of a webinar that I do in a couple of weeks, where we will talk a lot about assemblies and sub-assemblies. So this is how we in general visualize the key data that you find in the standard Business Central manufacturing module. And then this gives you good information about your overall schedule, okay? And then the second thing is, and now let's drill one level deeper in terms of visualization. Then you have the schedule, so now you have things scheduled, and maybe let's look at the release production orders. You have them scheduled, and when they are released, you actually know that the released production orders, other than the firm planned or the planned one, which you also see the firm planned and the planned one are more out, whereas the released ones are the ones that are the next to work on. And actually the released ones are those that go to the shop floor. And with the released ones, you may have the intersection. Okay, now actually planning and execution come together. So how do we visualize planning and execution coming together? Well, first, let's look at one important thing that we didn't talk about. This is this red line. This red line here is on the 18th of January 21, and this is my work date. So in my demo environment, it is the 28th of January 21. So this is back to the future, but in your case, or in your customer's case, the work date is today. So basically this straight red line here is today. And so now we see we have a couple of released production orders, and some of them were actually scheduled to start a couple of days ago, and they are planned to kind of also continue the next days. So now let's look again, and now let's first do a high-level look into this release production order 10-10-14 again. So with a double click, I should be able to open the production order card. Yeah, and now go down into the routing lines again. And let's see, and you see you don't see anything right here. So now let's look at some more information, which I thought I would have done correctly. Here we go. Let's look for status. So we have the routing status for the first routing line, which was supposed, or the first operation that was supposed to start on the 25th of January and to end on the 26th of January. And remember, today is the 28th of January. So the routing status here is finished. And same for the second one. This is also finished. This was supposed to start yesterday, and it is supposed to run until tomorrow. So let's click on this and see. It says routing status in progress, and this one is supposed to start tomorrow and to finish sometimes next week, and there is no routing status, so this is still planned. So now we see that actually on a production, on a released production order, we can have different routing statuses. So we can have the no routing status, which means this is still planned. We can have the routing status in progress, and we can have the routing status finished. And the way for you to determine this routing status is via the, and now let's get rid of the page inspection again, is via the production journal. With the production journal, you can say, hey, I'm actually working on this operation. I finished this operation. I started it. So you can post output to this, or you can post consumption to the respective production order routing line. And now let's, and with posting output, so with working with the production journal, you actually bring actual information to your production order. So you bring actual information to your schedule. And so now let's look what we do to visualize this. So remember, for this operation here, we know that, or for this production order, we know that the first operation is finished, the second operation is finished, the third operation is in progress, and the fourth operation is planned. So now you see a difference. You not only see these bars and the links and the work time and the non-work time, but if you have a close look, and let me open this so that I can move this a little bit to the top. So if we look at this first operation, you see this black underscore, and this black underscore tells me, hey, this is finished. And actually, as this is finished, I cannot move it anymore. And if I look at this info window and the fourth line from the bottom, it says routing status finished. And progress by quantity, second last information, 100%. So this means the information about the routing line status is visualized with this black underscore. So this is finished, this is finished. And then remember, we had the fourth one. This is still no routing status, so this is planned. You see no underscore. And then we get to the third one. The third one was the routing line status. And again, look at the fourth last information, in progress. And so this means we have this progress bar running on here, this gray bar, which just tells me, okay, this has been started, and now if you post more output to it or more consumption, then it will kind of go longer and longer and longer. And a few words on this. So first, under administration setup, you can actually determine if this progress bar should be calculated based on the quantity you post on the production order routing line, or based on time, or if you don't want to see this at all. I recommend that you always do this, and then if you post time, so if you say this should run 5 hours and I post 2, then show 40% completion. Or if you say, hey, I produce 100, and if you produce 60, then use based on quantity, and then it would show 60%. So in my case, I booked quantity, so I have this based on quantity. Okay, so this is, and then you get these progress bars. Now what we actually see on, and what is important to know is, and let's have a close look at this, the info window. So the fourth last information, this production order routing line, is in progress, and the second last information is progress by quantity is 20%. So now let's have a look. The operation starts here, it finishes here, and this is the progress bar, and this progress bar represents 20%. So if I look at this on a quick glance, I would say from here to here, and if this is the progress, well, this is 40%, this is not 20%. So how come that these guys say that this is 20%? Well, what we do is, when we do this progress bar visualization, we do it always relative to the net working time. So this gray bar, this 20%, is actually 20% of these orange areas, because this is the net working time, and this is just here, this time, and this time is the interruption due to the non-working time of the respective work center, so due to the non-working time of the assembly station. So this actually tells me, hey, the networking time, or if this is 20%, this is what I did. If this is today, then I started here, and actually based on my schedule, if I'm here, if this is today, based on my schedule, I had to do this portion, right? And then there was the shift break. But based on what my guys from my shop floor told me through the production journal, we are already here. So now, by looking at the progress bar and comparing the progress bar to this today line, I know, hey, actually we are a little bit ahead of the schedule. So this is information I get from the progress bar. And now if you look down here, there's the opposite case, right? So actually this is now, the percentage is 80%. But if this 80% again net of the orange, then we are here. We posted output for this part of the production or this operation, but there has been not output posted for this. So actually we are a little bit behind the schedule. So this is information we see from here. And what we also see is actually, and this is the last thing, is if we already posted more output to a production or to an operation that we planned, and it is still not finished, then we show it in red, and then we know, okay, there's an issue. We know we won't be able to start this right away unless the guys don't manage to finish it here in the evening shift. Okay, so this tells me issue. This is not yet finished, and we already posted more output than we initially wanted. And so with this information, we actually bring information about the execution together with the information about the schedule. And of course, when we go to the capacity view, we have the same information here. So from here, actually, I have get a pretty good understanding of what was done recently on my cutting machine, what is supposed to happen, and also I see which machine center is currently busy with which operation. And if we are behind the schedule, like here, remember, this is done, we are here, so this should have been done as well, or where we are ahead of schedule. So this is all information I quickly see from the production order. And also, if I would have a released production order, which I don't have here, I actually need to build one. If I have a released production order, so an orange operation sitting here, and there would be neither a black nor a gray underscore, I would need to ring up my operators and ask them why they haven't started it yet, because then I would have to move it out, because it was planned to be started yesterday, but it did not start. And so this is actually information I get on one glance. And with this, I actually recognize that I didn't plan well for this webinar, because I was thinking about doing 3 tips, but I'm definitively I did longer for the first part than I was expecting. So I will actually skip this 3rd tip and the deep dive into filters, but I think this is okay, because actually what we saw when we looked at the webinars, there will be very soon, and this is very soon, I think in 2 weeks from now, on the 11th of March, there will be a webinar where we do nothing else than talking to features. So I will skip this now, pay respect to your time, and stick it with tip 1 and tip 2. And with this, I will now look. I see that there is already a question. If there is a better way of posting output than the output production journal. We don't have this because, so as I said initially, when we talked about our overall product strategy, the visual production scheduler ties in with Business Central and with Standard Business Central, and the way to kind of to tell Business Central that a operation is started, that an operation is running, that an operation is finished, and that if you planned 50, now you did 60. The way that this is achieved with Business Central is the production journal. And so as the visual production schedule is a product that just relies on Business Central standard, this is the way that we recommend users to work with when they work with Business Central standard. However, there are a lot of other applications of other ISV solutions out there that kind of take parts of a manufacturing execution system and that help you to much more efficiently post output, to much more efficiently grab information from the shop floor. There are a lot of great shop floor apps out there. So if you use some of these shop floor apps, then just make sure that they write back into the standard Business Central table. So if you take another ISV shop floor app, give this to the machine operators, and they report their progress based on these apps. Then make sure that these apps write back into the standard Business Central tables, because then you will get exactly the same information like you saw. So we don't require the user to post output with the production journal. You can also use an app or build an app to do so, but make sure that it writes down into the respective tables, and then it will be automatically visualized like this. Yeah, so then you say you get a lot of people asking for a better screen than could go on your computer at the work center. Yeah, that's a good question. So first, yeah, let me go back on this. So what you can do is, and we also started to look at this. So first, if this is on a work center, you may want just to filter on this work center, and again, filter comes in 2 weeks time again, but it could look like something like this, that you see, okay, now I focus on cutting, or now cutting is a bad example because I don't have much stuff in here, but you get the point. So this could be your cutting screen, and then you would just see what is going to happen on cutting. This is actually the VPS now for Business Central is half a year old. When we look what we have for NAV, then we actually have the capability, and this is one of the things we are going to build next. With NAV, we have the capability to add more content, more information on the bars itself. So then the cutting screen could be like this, or you could filter on cutting, and then would have not just the production order number here, but maybe also the item number, the item description, and the quantity. And then if you would see it like this with more information on the bar, then this could become a quite useful screen. And we have actually customers that use the VPS with Dynamics NAV, that use it like this. So they filter on the respective work center, have a screen in the shop floor, and then they have 4 or 5 lines of information on each bar, so that when the workers look at the screen, they exactly know what is going to do. This will require that you can customize the information that is shown on these bars. This is something we don't have right now here in the VPS for Business Central, but this is definitively on our list of things to do, I would say, within the next couple of months. So I hope that this answered this question. Then I get the question, required due date field in production order. This is only advanced VPS. Yes, the required due date field comes from the VAPS extension, which I also have installed here in my system. So this is nothing that you have in standard Business Central, and so this is nothing that we react to in the VPS. It is just VAPS specific. So you suggest that I have a button post output that popped up a window. Yeah, then this could do the job, that we just kind of access the post output dialog from the VPS. Actually, like the idea. Let me note this, write this down. Yeah, this is a good suggestion. So I will take this with me to the development team. And with this, I'm seeing no more questions right now. If you have thoughts after the webinar that you want to share with me, if you have further ideas, if you have customer cases to discuss, just feel free to reach out. You find me on LinkedIn. You can send me an email at any time. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm not the most active Twitter person, but I'm definitely active on LinkedIn. So make sure we connect here, or just send me an email. Although I need to mute you guys in a webinar, I'm really happy to engage with you. And I see there's more question coming. No, so there was just some nice words about the demo. So thanks for being here with me today, and watch out, we will send an email with the recording quite soon. So thanks for now, and have a great day. Thanks, bye-bye.